Okay, so our beginning posture will be in seated position here. I'm on my knees, sorry. Let's get down onto our bottoms, usually in this simple crisscross leg position. Also, I'm not demonstrating having anything underneath my seat, but if you're feeling like it could help to lift a little higher, you could put something underneath your bottom. Yeah. Make sure you're comfortable. Good. And a little note about this crisscross leg position. A lot of times you'll see me with one foot in front of the other. And that's an option, but if it feels good more like the ankles tucked under, you can do that. I don't mind. Just really go with what feels better for you. Now today, as we start our class, we're going to get into a little breathing exercise. And the only thing that we need from our seated position is that we can sit tall, okay? The first step is to bring our hands onto our tummies, just wherever's comfortable there. And we're going to get the air flowing in and out through the nose. And as you're breathing in, you want to take the air in down low and see if you can fill the belly with air. So it might feel like the hands move out. And then when you exhale, the hands would drop in and back because the air floats out there. So as you're doing this, I know it kind of feels a little rigid. Relax the shoulders a bit. You can cast your eyes down if it's distracting to look around, so you can tune in a little bit more to that belly breath, or even close your eyes if that's preferred. Now, some of us might find that we get good movement there. We've practiced this a lot, right? And some of us might not feel that movement of the hands or the belly out and in. And that's something to practice if you're not noticing it. Try one more with this belly breath. Good. Now let's bring our hands to the rib cage area, and I like to place them at the sides. So kind of around mid-chest, or maybe a little lower more towards the bottom of the ribs. And we're going to breathe in, and we're going to see if we can take the air sort of through that middle section of the chest, and the hands should move out like this as you inhale, and then they come back in as you release air out. So it feels like a filling into the rib cage. And you might notice also the rib cage move out in the back and forward in the front. And again, it could be a familiar thing for you to do this. And it might not be, and it might not be moving a lot, and that's okay. Good, give the shoulders a little shake out there, we'll release. And our third position to breathe into is more across the upper chest. I like to think heart level, okay? So I bring my hands kind of low on the chest, some way that you can get a little bit of connection there to the movement. And as you breathe in, you're going to feel that opening. Think heart level again. So this is higher. I'm still breathing in and out through the nose, keeping that posture in check. Notice what you have to do through your core in order to isolate the breath higher here. Good, okay, let's release and just take a moment. Now, so really we're trying 3 different sections, and as most of you know, a lot of times I like to combine those 3 areas. So this is a 3-part breath that we're doing. And what we're trying to do is take a really big inhale, and the first part of the inhale fills the belly. You continue the inhale, it fills up into the ribs, and at the very top of the inhale, the chest fills, okay? And it feels almost like a wave through the body as you breathe in. So you could try that a couple times just resting with your arms down. We're going to get arms moving with it in a moment, but let's just see how that works for you. It's a big full inhale. A third of the breath fills belly first, then into the ribs. And you continue that inhale all the way up to the top of the chest. And when you release the air out, it's a good full long exhale out. And some people might even need to breathe out through the mouth because you get so much air in. And as you're practicing this, cueing into feeling those 3 distinct areas and that waving motion through the body. And then we're going to see if we can add an arm sweep up with this. If you want to leave out the arms, it's no problem. But essentially, as I start my breath, my arms are down at my sides. And as I start to lift out, I'm breathing belly, ribs, and then gradually all the way to the upper chest. And then exhale, release down. And we'll try that. Maybe, 4 more of those. We're not going to do too many. It's a really big inhale. We're taking in a lot of oxygen. Relax those shoulders as you lower. Belly, ribs, and chest. And release. And again. And release one more time like that. Good, and release. And let everything kind of come back to a normal breath pattern. That was a lot of taking in deep breaths, so sometimes you can feel that, and you might notice your body might feel a little more energized, or maybe even sometimes a little light in the head from that. Yeah, so we want to take breaks afterwards. All right, let's add a little bit of movement here into the wrists, really easy. So first start circling a wrist. And go maybe, 5 or so one way and then the other. As we stay seated like this too, what comes to mind, if your legs feel cramped in this crisscross position, you can stretch them out at any time. Now with this wrist, now bring the fingertips to point down, fairly straight arm, and use your other hand to help that a little bit extra. So I don't know if you can see in Zoom land there, I'm helping my wrist flex there. And then do the other way, so fingertips point up and help with the other hand. So I'm using my hand to help pull those fingers back. Yeah. Good. You can do it again if it feels like it needs it, or shake it out on that wrist. The idea is just to get a little awareness of how tight we might be into those forearm muscles and wrist muscles. Good. Okay, other hand when you're ready. We always put a ton of weight on our hands in yoga. Knees and wrists, they take a lot of pressure when we're on the floor. I'm just circling both ways randomly here, but just getting some movement. Good. All right. And then when you're ready, fingertips point down, help with the other hand. I do keep a pretty straight arm. And you can switch there. And maybe one more quick one here each way. Here we go. Great. Okay. Shake those arms out. I'm going to move forward and back through the body right now. So I'm shifting into like my rib cage is forward, a lean forward. And then holding my knees, I'm going to draw the belly in and round the back and curl back. So shifting forward and then back. I'll show from the side just for people on Zoom who aren't sure what's going on there. Feels like cat-cow stretch seated. Again, remember you can be changing your legs. If those legs don't feel good, you could bend them differently. Okay, last couple. There we go. I'm coming back up to my tall sitting position, bringing my palms together. And we're going to rotate a little. So I'm turning one direction, doesn't matter which way. And it's very subtle. I don't need a big twist here. Going left and right with some movement. See how much you can keep that posture lifted as you do this. We want to, anytime we go into a turn or a twist in yoga, we really want to check in that our spine is as straight as can be first off. Okay, I'm going to just finish my last couple. Come back through center, relax the hands and arms, and we're going to go into a side bend. One more little thing here in seated. Hand down on one side, start to lean. The opposite side of your seat there is staying down. There we go. Now add the arm. And it's going about it a little more slow here so we can get into good alignment. And then let's go over to that other side. Just gently lean, and when you feel like you've got that right amount of lean stretch, you can add the arm up. And let's go one more time each side here. So sometimes I'll walk my hand out a little further on that second one. Okay, all right. And you'll notice when we first start our classes, one of my teaching styles is that these first few moves, we don't ever hold too long, right? We might hold it a touch, but we're moving a fair amount, like in and out of the position, and that's to warm us up. And then usually the longer holds go more at the end, all right? And that's on purpose. Okay, we're going to change to being on our hands and knees. All right, as you arrive here, let's get into a spinal arch. So what we're trying for is cow pose here, if you know it by name. The belly and rib cage is dropping down towards the ground. Tailbone tilts up. Shoulder blades sink in towards one another a little bit. And we look forward to whatever degree it feels safe through the neck. Now, from here, we're going to come up into the opposite position. So start to tuck the tail under and round the spine and find your cat and shift back maybe a little bit towards heels or hips to heels. You don't have to go all the way though. Come back through and back into cow pose, dropping the belly, and breathe in here. Exhale. Round and tuck and shift all through that breath out. Inhale as you come forward and lower in the belly and ribs. And that's the pattern there. Exhale, shift back. You could leave out the shift if it was bugging your knees or something. Just go up and down like our usual cat-cow. For me, when I do this shifting back, I can feel a little bit of a deeper stretch through the low back. Trying this through a couple more rounds. Good, and we come back into that neutral position. Make sure for this next one that you've got room behind you on your mat, and we will come together with an extension back with the right leg. You might want to start, sorry, I've got my block there by accident. You might want to start with the toes down. Everybody is different with this one. And then we're going to come into a reach through and forward with the left arm. So opposite arm and leg. Now, if you'll see me in my option 1 here, I have the foot down on the ground. Option 2, of course, you're welcome to lift that leg. Your gaze is down at the ground, the back of the neck is long, and with this left arm, we're going to now sweep it out to the side and then stretch it to reach back, and then back through again to the side and reach forward. Let your arm rotate so that it feels safe in your shoulder joint. I'm holding this balance and I'm moving my arm. You could always opt out of the arm motion. But remember, the foot can be down on the ground. And I'm going to do one more if you're still with me on this. Good. So now as we lower, before we go on to our second side, let's go back into child's pose. So hips back, maybe widen the knees a little, and come down low this time. Turn the palms up or cross those arms to support your head. Let the head lower a little bit. We're staying here for 3 more breaths. Good, okay, we're beginning to lift. Back to tabletop position. Left leg extends back, and remember your options. You can keep it a little less balanced challenge with the toes down, or lift that leg up. Steady the eyes in front, right arm reaches this time. You can stay just as you are, or if you want to add those arm sweeps, that right arm sweeps to the side and then back, and then slowly forward and through. I'm just going to move here. And one of the things that might be happening on this one is the holding of the breath. So just checking in that you're breathing here with this. Good, I'm finishing my last one with that reach back and forward. And then when you're done, you can bring the hand and leg back in. Good, now this time we're going to come into a new position. We're going to help ourselves to lower the belly to the ground. And have a little moment to get yourself lying stretched out with those legs on your front. And we are going to get our arms in a very specific position, cobra coming up here. Now I want my hands to be placed on the floor in line with my chest. A lot of times people bring the hands up to the shoulders, but in proper cobra, we're going to go close to the chest. And the upper arms get close, they draw in close to the sides of the body. Let's roll the shoulders back and down. You can be looking down at the floor, but your head is lifted already a little bit. And the tops of the shoulders are moving down away from your ears. Get those legs stretching back. We're going to press down into the floor through those hands and slowly lift just a small amount and then come back down. We're not holding. We're going to add breathing to it. We're going to inhale and lift up through the upper body and then exhale to lower. Now, as you're doing your cobra lifts today, I want you to explore and see how much lift you can get without using the hands, or very little. It's almost like you barely push and you're using your back muscles to make the lift happen. You won't go very high. In order to get a good high lift, you have to use those hands. But we're relying more on our muscles today. Really use the lower body to help that out. So you might feel like the thighs tighten up. You stretch the legs back. Maybe even the glutes get active a bit. And maybe, I would say just a couple more of these. Now, when you finish your last one, some people might be loving this back arch. You could even come up and hold for a couple breaths, but don't feel like you have to. You could be resting down on the floor. Good. Our transition from there is back to cat or child's pose. So we help ourselves up. And you could be doing that rounded back here or the shift back. And this is always a nice way to reverse the spine after any back arching. And when you feel like that's good enough for your back and everything's feeling ready to go, you can come up to standing with me. I'll be facing forward. If you want to see me this way for the first bit, you can. Okay, it looks like we're good. All right, now this first one, I have a little bit of space between those feet. You don't want to be too tight together for this. And we're going to be getting into a flow with the breath. So the first step is to take the arms into a reach up. And then we're going to take those arms back out. We're going to be bending the knees and folding forward a little bit, sort of like halfway down. Hands land on your low back. Stand back up, sweep and reach. This is the breath in. Exhale into that half bend with bent knees and lower there. Good, that's it. Everybody's got it. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see it from there. I'm really flat backed, like I'm not letting my spine round. Good. The bend in the knees is a really good habit. This is a very safe way to move into a forward bend from standing. It almost feels like as I warm up that my chest is landing on top of my thighs. I don't know if anybody else feels that. Let's do 2 more. Really get good full breaths again. There we go. Come back up, just a regular neutral stance here. I'm going to now adjust my feet into a wider position. It's nice to be on the mat when you do these wide stances. If you are at home, I'm just going to mention that if you get onto hardwood or a carpet, sometimes if you don't have good traction, that could be a little bit of a slippery predicament. All right, arms out to the sides here. This is really simple. We're going to go into a rotation. So what I'm doing is turning so that one arm reaches behind me and one forward. Your head goes with you, so you turn, and then you come back to front. Real simple. And then the other direction. Good. And as you're doing this, you're trying to see how much of this rotation you can get without the hips swiveling. So a lot of us are going to want to rotate through the pelvis and hips to try to get that full way. And you're trying to keep the hips from moving too much and see what happens. I know it's way harder. Although some of us are really flexible in rotation, it depends on our body type. Yeah, for me, this has always been a tough thing to get a lot of rotation through the spine and through that upper part. Good. Last couple, or you can be done if you're done. You'll know. Good, okay. I think there's also a little bit, you have to use the core a bit to get that turn. All right, feet are back in. Let's keep our hands on our hips. This next one seems really simple, but there is a bit of balance that happens with this. So I'm taking one foot, and whatever leg you like, stepping back into, like it looks like the calf stretch, essentially. I'll show from the side. Right, front knee has a little bend. I'm not too far back, definitely not too far back. Not like warrior one. And now I'm going to shift my body forward so that all my weight goes onto that front foot and I stand up on it. And the back heel lifts and I kind of go onto my toes. And you can feel you're more on that one leg. And then bend and land the heel. And I want you to just simply practice going through that motion forward and back and see how you do with when you land on that front foot, how that balance feels. And you also get a little bit of a calf stretch each time you land that heel. This is a really good check for your dynamic balance. How do you deal with your weight on that one leg as you move? If you have no balance challenges, it's usually fine. Last one here. That's it. Keep it real simple. We'll just wiggle it out and take a few repetitions on that other side. I started with the lunged position. And you're kind of pushing off with that back foot, shifting forward with a land. I hate to bring it up, but as we get older, we do tend to be, not always, but losing our balance a little bit more. And this is something very simple, but it's a great thing because if you really think about it, when we walk, right, and you're actually moving in balance. Yoga does wonders for people to prevent any problems with balance issues as you get older. Good, last one. There we go. Simple, right? I think from what I could see, everybody was doing that one really good. We have now a wide stance happening again. So back onto that mat if you can with the wide stance. Coming into our warrior two pose. So I'm going to turn out, you guys can go turn out with that left foot first if you want to mirror me. And then we're bending the left knee. There we go. The arms come out to the sides. That's it. Our body and our hips are mostly sideways facing here, right? Arms are stretched out right from that shoulder height. And let's turn our head to look over the left fingertips. Let the shoulders roll down away from the ears a bit. Have a moment to turn your head the other way, so looking at your back hand and seeing how the arm is aligned. Good, and then back through, looking at that front hand. Good, now coming out by releasing that knee bend and arms for a moment. And we're gonna stay on this side and go into a second pose. It's called side angle pose. You bend the knee just like you would with warrior two. And then we're going to try to bring the elbow down on the knee. Now, if that feels too far, don't go all the way to the elbow. Checking in with the separation between your feet, you can make it a bigger pose, more intense by widening your stance. You don't have to, that's just a thought. Now, this top arm is going to reach up overhead, palm faces down. And what you're trying to feel here is this lengthening down the right side. So you reach with the fingertips of that right hand and down into the outer edge of that right foot. It's pushing down into the floor as much as you can. That's it. Everybody's got a really nice line. Coming out slowly there. Good. And it was good because on Zoom I could see some people were coming in and out of the move. So that is, welcome. You just go as long as it feels comfortable, release, take breaks, try again. All right, when you're ready, we'll go back to wide to enter. Turning your other foot out. Might be that right side now for most people. Find the knee bend. Remember in warrior two, the tendency is to really lean to the bent knee side. We want to feel equal weight both feet, okay? Don't lose that back foot. Pressing down evenly into the floor. Arms are out. So we had a little checking in with our neck, stretching here. So we're turning over, looking over the right fingertips first of all. And then have a moment to look to the backhand. You can also see where you're resting the arm. Sometimes we don't know where it is. And then back to the front. Pause for another moment. Chest is lifted, shoulders are down. Good. Nice to hear the breath flowing for most people. I'm taking a break. Bend into the knee when you're ready again. This time now it's this body lean down, so elbow to the knee, and then the top arm reaches. Nice long stretch again. Don't lose the focus of the lengthening, and the name of this pose is side angle. So stretching down the side. And we're breathing, right? Just always checking in. Good. Okay, we come out, walk those feet in. Very good. I just realized I'm doing a fair amount here today with that wide stance, so we just need a little moment. This is where I am using the block. You may or may not need it, but I personally really do need it for this pose, so I don't like doing this pose with my hands all the way to the floor. It's a bit too low for me. So what's happening on this is we're going to go into a wide leg forward bend, and then we're going to be going into a bit of a twist. So we want to go about it with some care and attention to detail here, okay? So wide stance to where you're comfortable, toes point straight ahead or slightly pigeon-toed in, never out, okay? It's important. I like to use the high angle of the block. I bend from my hips and I land down, and my hope is, so if I turn to the side, that I have a flat back. Can you guys see in the Zoom screen there that I'm not rounded here? I'm really trying to get a flat back. You can bring that block right under you. So then from there, and if you don't have a block, you could use a stool, a bed, anything. Hand on the block, let's go right hand down, left hand to the hip. And what we're trying to do, just like when we warmed up that twist in standing, we're trying to rotate our body without the hips moving. Whatever you can do with this. That left shoulder is going to roll open towards the ceiling. Keep the spine long. Remember I was talking about keeping things straight when we turn? Yeah. Now this pose does have a finishing move with that arm reaching up to the ceiling, but you don't have to do it. Certainly just mentioning that as, you know, a piece of curiosity maybe. That's the idea. Good. Now, as you come out, if you're starting to feel fatigued or sensitive in this position, you're welcome to stand up for a break, okay? There is no hurry here. When you're ready, it's just going into that second side for yourself. So the left hand down, right hand to the right hip. Again, the hips aren't doing the rotation. It's more actually the thoracic spine, so middle back and upper shoulder area that's creating this twist. I find this one a hard one, and I notice one side is definitely easier than the other side. Just an observation of my body, and I'm saying it out loud because maybe some people are noticing that. That's it. Okay. Back through. Wiggle those feet in maybe a little and help yourself up. And that's it for that guy. Okay. How are we holding up? Anybody need a little sip of water or anything? It's always lots of, the standing poses are big movements, right? We get lots of muscles involved all in one. So by the time we get here, we're usually feeling pretty warmed up. Okay, so for our next few moves, I'm going to be transitioning, and I'm talking a lot about how to move from one pose to the next. And some people aren't going to maybe feel like their body wants to do these little transitions. So just keep in mind that you don't have to do it like I'm demonstrating. You can come down to the knees and shuffle the feet into position from a different angle than I'm showing. But I'll go slow so that we have opportunity to try it if you want. Okay, around hip distance apart with my feet. I'm standing forward facing on my mat. There's some mat length behind me. I have a bit of a knee bend, and I'm coming down into a fold. And as you land into this forward fold, you want to make connection to the ground with your fingertips at least. So bend those knees enough that you can do that. We are going to pick up the right leg. Sometimes you have to walk the feet in a little. Pick up the right leg and step it back. And if this is just not working for you, it's okay. This is where you might come to the knees. I'm wiggling the left foot forward. Back leg is stretching long, and I walk my hands back so that they feel like my wrists are right under the shoulders. This is a big lunge, okay? Those of you who do yoga with me often know that I do a lot of lunging. And once you're here, you could stay here if this is preferred, or a different stretch, a little different sensation is letting the knee bend on the back leg and touching down. Yeah, very good, nice and gentle. I know, that's the transition part that I'm talking about. And either one, you're holding with the knee up or the knee down. We're not moving the upper body at all. We're just staying here for a moment or two, feeling that stretch. And our next move is going to be our downward dog. So for me, I like to lift that knee again. I try to get the hands maybe down, especially that right hand, and then I try to slide that front foot back. Again, you might be kneeling, you might be going down to tabletop pose and then coming up. That's fine. Learning how to come in and out of these different positions. So most of us are fairly familiar with downward dog, but just a couple reminders even for this pose here is that we may not all get our heels down, and some of us might have bent knees. That is definitely good to do. Now, from here, I'm going to try to come back standing. So you might kneel down, that's fine, and then help yourself up. Or you could look forward and see if you can get big steps, 1 foot at a time towards the hands. I've got bent knees, and then stand. All right, so I will acknowledge that for people who come to my flow classes, this is really breaking it down, and I know that. But it is something that for new people, it's good to learn these transitions, so it's good to review. All right, we're coming back into our forward bend and doing the other side now. So back to your forward fold, fingertips down, bend those knees, left foot is the one that steps back. And then it's just a bit of shimmying with the feet here. I usually want to get a little longer in that stride so that front foot wiggles forward. I do all of that very sort of unconsciously after I know the feeling that I'm looking for. Yeah. Now, once you're in your position, remember you could stay put here, or if it felt safe to lower the knee down, you could touch down. If you're in the lowered lunge, you do want to still keep those hips shifting forward. Yeah, that's it. Everyone's got it. See if you can hang out for a couple more breaths here. Good. And then what I did was I transitioned to downward dog. I, again, choose to lift the back knee. I try to lean into that left hand, enough room to sweep that right foot back, shift it back. If you wanted to do a child's pose instead right now, no problem. But our second opportunity to do downward dog. Press down into the ground through those hands and try to shift your chest back a little bit more towards your thighs. See what you can do about that. There we go, one last breath. Lovely, let's bring those knees down. And if those hands felt a little bit sore, you can give them a little wiggle out there. Good, okay, yeah. Looks good. We are going to be moving into a position where we're back to tabletop here as our start setup. Just this last little thing where we're on our hands. And I'm just thinking about you, Kay. You know, remember you can be doing things like this. Yeah, okay.
Like that?
Yep. Okay. Flat fist or even fingertips or whatever you need.
It actually wasn't bad after the last class at all.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so this one here, we're going to start with stepping the left leg back and definitely keep the toes down to start. There we go. Now your right hand, step it off to the outer edge of that mat on the right side. Yeah, even off of the mat if it felt okay. Lean over into the right hand so that you can then get light on the left and reach it up. So we're turning into an open position. There's balance happening here. I am going to be offering up a few different things you can try from here. So don't feel like you have to move from your position. From here, I'm going to lift the back leg up. And then one last option is some of us might be able to bend that lifted leg so that the knee bends and we could reach for our ankle. Now maybe we don't reach the ankle easily and that's fine. You could just stay here. Or if you can get a hold of it and get into the full stretch. So there's lots, yeah, looks like people are trying various things. Like it's good. Some people are still here, some people are here, some people are halfway into the knee bend, right? So there's lots of things to try. Your body will tell you what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. Good. And the good news is, no matter where you were, there was lots of different things that you're getting benefit from with that move. If your hands need a break or anything, again, give them a little rest, kneel. We're doing it onto the other side right away. So the right leg is the one that steps back, toes stay down, left foot over a little, left hand over a little. Lean into that left hand and take your time when you open up here. That right hip and right shoulder are revolving open towards the ceiling. Arm could reach up. We could maybe lift the back leg. Don't feel hurried here either. I'm showing the bend in the knee with the reach back. For those of you who are here with me in this, holding onto the foot or ankle, you can open it up. Think like you're drawing that knee back a little too. That's all we're doing. Good. Slow exit out. Land in your child's pose. Have a little moment to rest here. Find whatever's comfortable with child's pose. Good. Okay. Let's start to release up and help ourselves to a seated position. Get off those knees now. Okay, so this next one here is surprisingly challenging, and there's lots of different reasons why this can be challenging. So I'm going to note to some people that if you try this out, and you can't get your leg to lift like I'm demonstrating, you might want to put a little yoga band or strap around your foot to assist it. So I know that not everybody in the studio, do you have a band, Neil, or how about you, Kay, just in case? Yes, that would work. I don't know if you'll need it, it's hard to say, but you can just hop and grab one. Got it. Okay, so I'm sitting and I'm holding one knee, doesn't matter what side. But make note of which side it is, because we're going to be switching. The other leg goes out straight. Yeah. And before we get into any leg lifting business here, we want to make sure the posture is lifted. So the back is going to want to do this on this move. We want to lift through the sternum here, sit tall, roll the shoulders back and down. Start a little bit of a lean back, just a hint of a lean back. You can hold on, support with the hands to the knee. See if you can get this leg to lift up in a straight way. This one can be a real tough move. And again, there's lots of reasons why that might be hard. And if you're finding it easy, that tells you that your thigh and your hip flexor are working well and they're strong. And yeah. Or also that another thing could be is it could be the back of the leg, the tightness here that prevents the lift. Good. So remember that band around the foot to help if you need. That's the idea though. We're going to be giving this a couple tries. So let the heel come down. Hands go behind you. Position your hands however feels comfortable, both hands. Totally different move. Bent knee steps in so that foot's nice and solid on the ground. And we're going to try to lift both hips up. There, the one leg is straight, the one leg is bent. You can look forward, up, or even back, depending on how your neck feels. So this is like a reverse plank, but half, right? We've got the one leg bending and it helps a bit. Set it down again. On the same side, try one more time with the leg lift up. For those of you who are finding this no problem, you might free the arms like a half boat pose. A little bit of lean back is fine. Yeah, I know there's lots happening here. Some of you are using that band. You're breathing. Yeah. Good. The leg goes down. And we try, optionally, maybe one more try at this half reverse plank here. Hips should be pretty level. Just staying for a couple breaths. Good. All right. So we want to switch our sides. And really, we're having this opportunity to go back and forth between those two moves. And when you first set up for the leg lift, remember, I think rather than worrying about how high that leg goes, be more concerned about your back posture. This will come. And you know, this is the first time I've done this one in a very long time, and I'm finding it really challenging through the hip and thigh to get a good high lift for myself. So if you're wanting to try that other one, you can try it. But if you needed to just rest, maybe your hands don't want more pressure, that's fine. I'm lifting up. Hips come down. Maybe one more try. I'm showing with the arms free again. Definitely when you're leaned back, you'll feel the core a bit too, hey? Good, all right, leg rests. Maybe some of you are coming up with the hips one more last rise up through this. Very nice on that. Good high lifts I could see in the studio. Okay. Last little thing here, seated. I want to take the soles of the feet together and the knees part out lightly and have a little lean forward after all of those moves. So come into a position where it feels gentle and a nice light stretch for yourself. Modify as you need. And let the breath flow easily here. Okay, time to start to lift. All right, I'd like to go on our backs next. So let's roll back, meet up there. Windshield wipers will probably feel welcome at this moment, so wide feet. Start to do those knee sways left and right. Upper body is resting here. Okay, so from there, we'll take it into a hug of both knees. So both knees in towards the chest. Back of the neck is long. Maybe you're adding a little bit of rocking. Now hold your left knee and stretch your right leg out onto the floor. We're going to try to take in a pretty big hamstring stretch here. So this one I'm going to be demonstrating holding my foot, but if that's feeling not quite accessible to you, like reaching that foot doesn't feel easy, then you might use one of those yoga bands looped around your foot instead. So I'm starting to open up this knee a little bit, and I'll reach up on the same side, so same hand as leg, towards my toes, right? And see if you can get a hold of that forefoot, or if you know your yoga hold with the big toe, you could do that too. And from there, I'm letting that upper body rest, and I'm trying to stretch that leg as straight as it will go. And my leg doesn't go perfectly straight. I think everyone's getting the idea of this. Notice if it feels like you want to bend that right leg. Maybe that takes the edge off of the stretch a bit for you. Last couple moments. There, and after you do that stretch, give that leg a little shake out on the ground. Wiggle the hips a bit and get everything realigned. When you're ready to join me, I'm starting to hug the right knee into my chest. I took a purposeful pause here. There's no hurry. And it gets you ready. And again, feel free to bring that yoga band out. Sometimes one leg feels different than the other. Thinking about lifting that foot up towards the ceiling, and you might have to lift your upper body to reach for that foot or the big toe. And once you get connection, then you explore what you can do about straightening that leg a little bit here. Looks good. Even though we have to hold on with our arm, we don't need to tense in the shoulders and around the neck, so relaxing those areas. There we go. Okay, let's start to release that side, give it a shake out. Good, let's lift the left knee up again. Using your right hand, my right leg is outstretched. I'm going to take my knee across the body and going into a rotation or a twist here. So as I guide that left knee across, some of you might like to shift that right hip underneath you a little bit more and then bring that knee across a little deeper towards the floor on the other side. But it doesn't need to be that far if it feels a little sensitive in your back. I definitely do encourage, though, that the left arm reaches out to the side, maybe from shoulder height. And my preference is turning the palm up on that side. That opens up in the shoulder and chest area. Our head could look, or our neck alignment could be straight, or we could turn and roll the head to look towards that left hand. There we go. Okay, we're rolling out of that. Get your back straightened on the floor again, and then left leg out, right knee lifted. Help yourself through into that rotation as you're ready. Remember all those options. Left hip might shift under you more. You might Really help that knee across, or just a little. And that right arm is reaching out. And some of us might choose to turn the head as well. You're breathing nice, long, smooth breaths here. Okay, let's roll that back. On your back, we will return to a hug of both knees after that one. After your knee hug, you could stretch the legs out on the floor. And some of you might even like to do a stretch of the arms overhead for a moment. As you lay here like this, why don't you give that 3-part breath a try again? Just, maybe 3 rounds of it, a short round. Belly, ribs, chest, and then let that air release out. And know that when you're done with that, you can certainly hang out for a few more if you need. You can relax the arms and come into a more rested position lying. A lot of times I'll need to adjust and wiggle a bit so that things feel level through the hips and the shoulders and shoulder blades, and also that it feels like my legs are relaxed, so no tension through those hips. And the head is weighting back into the floor with neutral neck posture here. The tops of those shoulders are settling down and back. Certainly be welcoming the eyes closed if they're not already at this moment. And as you close your eyes, it's this signal to relax into those facial muscles and around the eye muscles themselves. The jaw. See if you can get a little bit of softening or release around the cheeks and ears, and maybe even around the top of the head and the scalp. You can sense the whole body lying, feeling rested, soft and supple. And with this gentleness in the body, see if you can carry that over and reflect a sense of gentleness in mind. So the mind itself is feeling a little rested, perhaps a little out of focus. Allow your awareness to drift. Noticing sensation and sound. We'll take a couple breaths now with the intention that we're bringing a little bit more air in, and with that a little sense of rising energy. Good, and we're going to introduce that movement back to the body, so a little bit of hand and feet wiggling, or maybe the knees need to bend now. Let your body move and stretch as you need in this transition to come back up to seated when you're ready. Okay, looks like we are all arriving back up, and I have, for Zoom people, on my screen there, I unmuted you. If you want to talk, you have to actually say yes to that request to unmute. And otherwise, I'm going to say goodbye to people here in the studio and just say thank you for coming on out. Nice to see you Friday morning. Namaste.